want to welcome everybody here, and I want to let you know that we're gonna mute people once we get started, but we're gonna let people unmute at the end and chat some more and ask some questions, because this is a good opportunity for people to get together. And I'm Natalie Fritz with the Clark County Historical Society.
Shut up.
And I'm going to mute everybody now, and you'll be able to unmute yourselves. So I want to welcome everybody here and thank you for coming tonight. We have a very special guest with us tonight. You don't have, if you've been to any of our programs before, you hear a lot of me. So we have a special thing tonight. You will not have to hear a lot of me. We've got a wonderful radio voice that you'll hear from Mr. Dick Hatfield, who is a lifelong Springfielder. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. You're a Catholic Central graduate and longtime radio personality, DJ and MC for all sorts of things around town. And the last few years, he's had a wonderful event at Mother Stewart's where he's been able to do something along the lines of what you'll see tonight. And unfortunately, with everything going on, he will not be there tonight in person, but we're happy to be able to have a Christmas program here and share some Springfield historic memories. And I think I've lost him on the screen now, but I'm going to have to ask him to unmute since I muted everybody. So you'll see a
That's Sherry. She's
on your end. There you go. You'll see you'll be able to unmute yourself. And
are we okay?
And I'm gonna turn it over to you eventually. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen, and we've got some slides and videos that Dick's gonna share with you to help jog your memories, and we'll be able to share some wonderful Christmas time memories of Springfield. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen now. And as we go along, I'll occasionally mute myself, and Dick, you can let me know when to advance everything. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that I have the controls up here so that I'm sharing my sound, so that you'll be able to hear all. So if anyone is unable to hear the sound on the video, let me know right away so we can make sure that we fix that setting quickly. But I think we tested it. It should be all right to be able to play and hear all the videos. So without further ado, Dick, I'm going to let you take it away. But first I'm going to go to our next slide just to explain that this is being recorded. So if anyone misses this, this will be available later, and it'll be up on our Facebook page and eventually on our YouTube channel for the Heritage Center. So you guys are welcome to unmute yourself throughout if you do have questions, but for the most part, we've got a lot of videos off and on. So we will definitely leave time for questions and talking and chatting at the end of this. And we'll have some extra slides to help facilitate some of that at the end. And we welcome any extra questions that you come up with later, or discussions that you want to have on Facebook or anywhere else, or send an email or try and get a hold of Dick himself to share things. You can all do that. And then we have the chat will show up, I think, at the bottom of your screen. So if you have stuff that you want to share in the chat or say there, you can do that. If you want everyone to see it, there's a drop down where you can make sure that everyone sees it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dick, with this next slide. And
okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and mute myself.
Well, as per usual, we are recording the entire program.
Or is something that we used to always say.
Sending a copy to our fighting men down at the Sidetracks Bar on West Main Street. So keep that in mind. I would ask you all to mute Wheel of Fortune too. I want to hear Pat Sajak in the background. So assuming that we are on, I must say that at this time of year, as with many previous years, I've had the feeling that every Christmas carol ever written was penned by somebody who spent time in downtown Springfield during the glory days. And those would be after World War II, the entire decade of the 1950s, up through the mid-60s. there was more stuff going on in downtown Springfield. After the war, it got so busy. In 1949, they made the streets one way to alleviate the traffic jams down there. Following that, in the early 50s, and I don't have dates for these, but somewhere along the line, the stores downtown, which generally were open on until about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening during the week, never on Sunday, decided to keep the doors open until 9 on Monday. And that became very successful. After a few years, they said, well, let's
I can't
take
hear
on
him.
Thursday
I don't
night
know.
as well. So they,
It's unmuted.
what did you say? At that point, the stores were open on Monday and Thursday. What I'd like to ascertain, and we were talking about this at lunch today, I don't know if at Christmas time, if they allowed the stores or if the stores stayed open until 9 every night during those hectic shopping days before Christmas. I don't know that, but I do know they were open on Monday and
He's
Thursday night.
talking.
Can everybody
It's
hear
just
me?
video only, yeah.
Can you hear me?
What?
I can't hear if you can. I'll just continue on.
I doubt that
Yeah,
it's,
you're
the video
fine.
started.
Dan
Right.
and
I think it's
Cheryl,
just a bunch of his introductions.
can you mute yourselves? You guys keep coming across
We
if
can
you
watch
don't
the
mind.
video anyway.
Okay. But the
I wonder
windows,
if that's him as a kid.
the windows downtown were beautifully decorated, many of them by a man named George Miller, who was the older brother of our movie star Kenny Miller. Another decorator was Stan Dahlman, who did the beautiful window display at the Ohio Edison Company. And John Minogue Sr. used to decorate the windows at Wren's. Now, Wren's was an unusual store. They had 5 floors of activity down there. And during Christmas time, the 5th floor was called Toyland. And there you could have the kids' pictures with Santa and shop for all the popular toys that year. I want to tell you a little known item about Wren's. In the men's department, they had and I know this from I heard it from a person who actually worked there at the time. They had a sweater stretcher. So if anybody got a sweater for Christmas and it was too small, they'd go back and say, hey, what can we do here? And they said, well, we'll put it on our sweater stretcher. You come back in 2 days. Now, this is true. There was a big guy that worked in maintenance, and they'd have him wear that sweater for a couple of days. And he'd take it off, and people would come back in 2 days. Hey, your sweater's all set, and away you go. So now, in memory of Wren's, let's do a little commercial for Wren's at Christmas time.
Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without shopping at Wren's. Wren's at 14 East Main Street, downtown. Your family store for name brand clothing, shoes, and accessories. And fine home furnishings. Your family store for quality and dependability. The Gene Sardou Studio will be taking pictures of the kids on Santa's lap on the 5th floor at Wren's Toyland. Christmas is Wren's.
I want to switch now to some of the downtown characters. These guys were so visible in the downtown area. And I'm talking about Jim the Hatter and Jim Georges, who had the sandwich shop, and a guy named Harvell Youngman, who was the concierge at the Hume Hotel. This guy was built like Tarzan, man, big dude. And I came later on to know that He set a lot of records in track at Springfield High School. But he was very visible around town, as well as a man named Art Swords at Carmen Shoes. He called everybody Duke. If you walked by there and he knew you, hey, Duke, what's happening, man? And of course, Percy H. Rosenfield Jr. This man was so impeccably dressed every day. You would see him on the street. He spoke to everybody. He wore these expensive Hickey Freeman suits, always with a flower in his boutonniere. And he smoked big cigars, wore fine hats, cashmere top coats. Wherever you saw him, if he looked your way, he spoke. He was just a really super guy. He never advertised on the station I worked at, which is WBLY, because his father, Percy H. Rosenfield Jr., when WIZE, the first radio station in Springfield, came on the air in 1940, he and a group bought shares there. So where else would Percy H. Rosenfield be likely to advertise but on WIZE? He owned a lot of shares. And the nice thing he liked to do was he did his own commercials. He was the daily fashion reporter. And here is a commercial for the Vogue shop.
Hello, friends. This is Dick Hatfield speaking on behalf of Percy H. Rosenfield Jr., the Vogue Shop, your daily fashion reporter, and bringing you great news about our Christmas sale on Alpagora top coats. And you'll find sale prices on all your merchandise, including our exclusive line of Hickey Freeman suits. And all your purchases will be beautifully gift-wrapped in one of our gold gift boxes. That's the Vogue Shop, 22 South Fountain Avenue in downtown Springfield. And remember, if you dress for the occasion, you'll enjoy it more.
Just a first-class place to buy clothes. Another really nice thing that went on in downtown Springfield back then was a visit from Santa. In order to get one of these, you had to go down to any of a number of merchants and sign up for it. If you had a child specifically under 8 years old, each night for 2 weeks in December, WBLY would select 5 names, and each would be, their parents would be called at home and would get a visit from Santa Claus. And Santa Claus arrived with this great big bag of stuff, and he'd open the bag and the kids could reach in and pick out whatever gift they wanted. The reason I know this so well is I was the one who played Santa Claus. And back then, I weighed a lot less than what I do now. But they had a cushion or a sofa down there with vinyl cushions on it. And I used to put that around my midsection and put this Santa Claus outfit on. It was a really good one. It had a realistic beard and hat, a whole bit. And then I would go out to these 5 different homes and play Santa Claus. But here is how you registered for the visit from Santa.
Hey, moms and dads, be sure to sign up your kids under 6 to win a visit from Santa. Each weeknight during December, 5 names will be drawn, and Santa Claus will visit each one with a bag full of toys. You can register downtown at participating merchants, including Brands, the Boston Store, People's Outfitting, Central Rug and Linoleum, Click Camera, Gilbert Shoe Store, or Ideal Jewelry. And now WBLY takes you on a sleigh ride with Ferranti and Teicher.
Kathy just reminded me of a story from that period of time. One night I was out in the area where we lived, and we just had the 2 boys at the time, Rod, who's with us tonight, and Rick, who was only 2. And when I showed up as Santa, Rod was all excited, and he was saying, "Oh, Santa, I want this and that, and my brother wants this and that." And I couldn't get Rick to come out, Ricky, we called him, and say anything. He was hiding behind Kathy's leg and holding on to it. So finally I said, "Well, bye-bye, Merry Christmas." At that point, Rick comes from behind Kathy's leg and says, "Bye, Daddy." And just one other quick story. My car, my 67 Chevy, broke down in Lawrenceville after making a call. And I pulled into this gas station that happened to be open in Lawrenceville. Radiator just steaming like crazy. And some big dude comes out, got a shop rag in his hands, a flat cigar in his mouth, looks at me and he says, "What's the matter, Santa? Lose a reindeer?" Yeah, thanks, man. Well, here are some glimpses of the Potluck Players. These players did a breakfast with Santa every year. It was quite a big thing for the kids downtown. They held it at Wren's. You see Smiling Bob, and he was the perpetrator of that event. And I never went to it because it was broadcast on BLY, and I was back at the station operating the controls. I must say, as great a personality as Smiling Bob was, his sense of timing was not great. 10 times every couple of minutes, "Are we still on the air, Hatfield?" "Yep, we are." The Potluck Players put on Christmas shows. When they weren't doing that's Tim Rao up there at the top, director of our Springfield Arts Council. And many of these appeared in the civic theater plays throughout the years, more notably Jerry Boswell up to the upper left, and Ann Armstrong down at the bottom. Ann worked at both radio stations in Springfield at WIZE, and also worked at BLY, did a talk show every morning. Good gal. Well, we had some theaters in downtown Springfield. We had 9 of them at one time. There were 11 altogether, but nine of them were downtown. But as late as the early 1950s, we had 8 radio stations, or 8 theaters downtown. They were the Regent, State, Majestic, Liberty, Fairbanks, Princess, Ohio, and the Hippodrome. And here is what was going on at Christmas time with the theaters.
This holiday season, treat the entire family to some great movies in downtown Springfield. Here's the lineup. At the Regent Theater, see White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney. Now showing at the State is Friendly Persuasion with Gary Cooper. And don't forget, every Wednesday night is Bank Night at the State. The current feature at the Liberty is Alibaba and the 40 Thieves with Turhan Bey. See Rodan and Godzilla back-to-back at the Majestic. And Gene Autry and Roy Rogers will be battling to see who's the king of the cowboys at the Fairbanks. All movies include selected short subjects, cartoons, and the Warner Pathé News.
Oh, those were good times. Now, if you wanted to buy a record album in the 1950s, you had two places. One of them was on the fourth floor of the Mitchell building. You can almost see it here. You'll see Phillips there, and the Boston store is on down. This photograph was taken at the corner of High Street and Limestone, and the policeman there would have been looking directly at the Woolworth clock. And it's interesting to note that the policeman, everybody knew the policeman from their appearances in downtown Springfield. Even the undercover guys, we knew who they were. Hey, there's a couple cops sitting over there. And on the Mitchell building, the record shop again was on the fourth floor, and they had an elevator operator, a very stern lady, thin, wore a uniform. And when you entered, when she opened the door, there was a gate there that she slid open. And you tell her what floor you wanted. She'd close the gate, close the door, and sit down and hit a button, and whoop, up you went. The other place to buy records was Peter's Record Shop. They were in various locations during the 1950s, but their first one was on High Street. And here's a little glimpse of a commercial for that.
There are only two places downtown where you can get all the latest Christmas music. The Record Shop on the fourth floor of the Mitchell building, and Peter's Records at 4 West High. They have the very latest from Bing Crosby, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Gene Autry, Burl Ives, and more. You'll find all the records in 45s and 33s, and some are still available in 78 RPM. That's the Record Shop and Peter's Records in downtown Springfield.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. With every Christmas card I write, may your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Yeah. Hey, you know, Springfield had 3 radio stations in the late 40s, early 50s. But first, let's look at the Melody Show Bar. The man you see standing on the stage above the bar he was a Springfielder named Saxy Mansfield. He was an extraordinary player, actually played Woody Herman's band. But many, many notable acts appeared at the Melody Show Bar, including in their early days, the 4 Freshmen. And we have in this commercial actual pictures of the 4 Freshmen appearing there.
This Christmas season, the fabulous Four Freshmen will be appearing at the Melody Show Bar.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird.
Don't miss this outstanding Capitol recording group at downtown Springfield's best place for music and entertainment, the Melody Show Bar, located at the southeast corner of High Street and Fountain Square. Watch your local newspaper for other outstanding musical acts coming to Melody Show Bar in the following months.
Walking in a winter wonderland.
Many of you will remember when there was a restaurant attached to the Melody on the High Street side called the Skillet. Okay, back to the radio stations. The third radio station to go on the air in Springfield was located in this building here. What's the name of that building? I forget. Symphony Sid was an outstanding disc jockey in this building, as well as Rod Serling, the famous Rod Serling, worked there right after he graduated from Antioch College. And it was when he was there, he entered a contest with CBS in New York for a script he had written, and he won, and that was his catapult to the big time, from here to the big time. But Symphony Sid also was kind of a top-notch guy. And he had a really cool Christmas card in 1949, and we'll take a peek at it right now. Come on, be a girl.
Gotta get hip and flip to the latest. People who love to swing with the greatest. There is a DJ show at a station, spinning the hottest tunes in the nation. Symphony Sid a jive talking daddies, picking the goodies, never a baddie. Out of this world, a real solid sender, filling the night with songs to remember. Rhythm and blues and jazz, and of course he really comes on with Goodman and Dorsey. We get all our kicks just digging those licks, jumping with Symphony Sid, jumping with Symphony Sid.
When Symphony Sid left there, he went to Los Angeles, where he was the manager for the Stan Kenton Band, Ray Anthony, the Four Freshmen. Later on in the 60s, he managed the New Christie Minstrels and many other acts. He was big time. Now here's a piece of film coming up that was from Snyder Park. I took this film I had bought in 1957. It was brand new on the market, a Kodak Brownie movie camera. It took roll type films, so you shot, it was a roll of 16 millimeter film that you had to thread inside the camera in darkness and shoot 25 feet, and then go to another dark area and turn that reel over and rethread it and shoot the other 25 feet. And you ended up, after you did all that and took it down to Click Camera and they sent it away for 2 weeks, you got 4 minutes of silent film. And it cost you about 10 or 12 bucks. But when the trend came to take old 8 millimeter film and turn it into digital, I took a lot of my stuff there, including this piece of film. And when I got it back, I thought, man, this isn't worth showing. I was going to do away with it. But I thought, well, I'll put a little soundtrack to it and show it. And believe it or not, this piece of film 2 years ago had over 130,000 views. Today, somebody finds it all the time and they re-put it back on Facebook or whatever. It's gotten over 200,000 views. Ice skating at Snyder Park. That was B.G. Adair on piano, incidentally. B.G. Adair on piano. I used to be a fairly good roller skater at Hodges, and I thought, well, I can do this ice skating. I was okay on roller skates. So I bought a pair of skates, and I went down there, put them on, and I went out about 3 feet, and I thought, whoa, man, there ain't no way I can do this. Unfortunately, I had bought hockey skates rather than figure skates with a stronger ankle hold, and so I gave it up forever. Now, downtown, we want to honor Jim Georges. Oh, look at that guy. He was famous downtown, took every order himself, made them all. I've got this commercial will tell you the whole story about Jim's Sandwich Shop.
Jim's Sandwich Shop, 117 South Limestone, one of the most popular eating places in downtown Springfield, was owned and operated by Jim Georges from 1936 through 1968. It was next door to the Regent Theater, across the street from the Esquire Bar and Grill, and across the alley from the Recreation Pool Room. Jim ran the place himself, except for his co-worker and girlfriend, Hilda Crawford, who took a bus from Dayton to and from work every day. During one of their vehement shouting matches, she threw a butcher knife at him, which stuck in the wall by the front window. The dishes used at Jim's were white with a green circle, solid wood booths, no cushions, 6 along the north wall, 2 in the center, and 1 in the southwest corner. He didn't want to sit in that corner if Hilda had a knife in her hand. The seating capacity was 36, but nearly 2 to 3 times that many came in after school. Was there a public restroom at Jim's? Yes, but it wasn't publicized. It was down in the basement in a dimly lit, dingy room that had cleaning supplies, a mop bucket, a toilet, and a washbowl. It was rumored in hushed tones that in the late 50s, a fearful teenager gave birth to a baby in that room. Jim himself took every order, made every sandwich, every malted, every lime freeze, every ice cream delight, every olive and nut sandwich, and rang up every sale. And when your order was ready to be picked up at the counter, he looked your way and said, "Young man," or "Young lady," and you knew when he meant you.
If you ate a sandwich in there, you'll never forget it. Here's another Jim downtown, Jim the Hatter, a very most prominent man, very outspoken man, listened to a lot of talk radio inside his store, and sometimes would go on a rant when you got in there if he didn't like the particular politics that was going on. But I have a story about Jim the Hatter right after you see his glimpse. And we're going to look at that right now.
Free and easy, that's my style. How'd it do me? Watch me smile. Fare thee well me after a while, 'cause I gotta roam, and any place I hang my hat is home. I'm going where a welcome mat is, no matter where that is. 'Cause any place I hang my hat is
home. Now, there was another guy in Springfield who made the big time in the mid-60s. He was a musician whose real name was Bobby Higginbottom. He sang under the sobriquet Tommy Tucker. And he had a top 40 hit called High Heeled Sneakers. Now, this song came my way and I thought, man, I'd love to have a pair of those. But at that time, there were none, only his song. I know in recent years, you could go to a shoe store, and there they are, high-heeled sneakers all over the joint. But there was none then. And at that time, I used to emcee basketball games annually in December with the policemen and the firemen. Each entity had a basketball team. They would play each other for a fundraiser, and they would do it in various gyms, a lot of times at Catholic Central's gyms. And Natalie remembered or researched that that trend went clear back to the 1920s when the police and firemen played each other. So I'm thinking, I got a pair of basketball shoes. How can I get some high heels on them? Maybe Jim the Hatter could do it. So here's that story, how Jim the Hatter did it.
"50 years ago, in 1964, a Springfield, Ohio musician who went by the name of Tommy Tucker wrote and recorded a national #1 hit titled High Heeled Sneakers.
Put on your high heel sneakers, wear your wig hat on your head.
As soon as I heard that song, I said, I gotta have a pair of high-heeled sneakers. All I had at that time was a pair of high-top basketball shoes. So I brought them downtown to Jim the Hatter. I said, Jim, can you put high heels on these basketball shoes? Well, he said he could, but he looked at me and warned me in his Greek accent, Hatfield, I'll tell you something. You put a high heel on your basketball shoe, you're going to ruin your arches. I said, Jim, I'm not going to play a game in them. I just want to wear them with a tuxedo for a few laughs.
Put on your high heel sneakers, your wig hat on your head. Put on your high heel sneakers, wear your wig hat on your head. You know you're gonna be your high. I'm pretty sure you're gonna knock him dead.
That's what Jim the Hatter charged me, $12. He used 2 double leather heels and put them on those basketball shoes. And I wore those to MC the basketball game between the policeman and the fireman that year. Incidentally, we have coming up now a little video called Long, Long Ago. And I would like to personally thank Natalie Fritz and Christina Kitchen of the Springfield, Ohio History on Facebook for providing many of these photographs. You're going to see over 75 pictures of old Springfield with a haunting Christmas soundtrack by bandleader Ray Anthony. Ray Anthony was from Cleveland, Ohio. At the young age of 17, he played in the original Glenn Miller band in the early 40s. Went on to have his own band and a great recording career, but he always copied that Glenn Miller sound. And the only difference you can tell is Ray Anthony kind of overdid it with his trumpet playing. But he is responsible for 2 dances that we all did in the 50s. Primarily the bunny hop. That is strictly all Ray Anthony, bunny hop. And it was his recording of the Hokey Pokey that everybody played to do the Hokey Pokey. Put your right arm in. So here is Long, Long Ago in Springfield, Ohio. Yes. You see that crowd there at the Esplanade? That was the crowd that welcomed back the Springfield High School class of 1950 basketball team in March of 1950. They had won the state championship. And it is said that that crowd was the largest crowd ever to appear in downtown Springfield. Estimated 35 to 50,000 people. A lot of people. I have just a couple more here. A year ago, the Heritage Center asked me to do a little video about a remembrance and of Christmases past. And this is from the late 40s. It has to do with, well, you take a look at it and you'll see it. Fairbanks Theater.
When I was a kid, I went to the Fairbanks Theater in downtown Springfield every weekend to see a cowboy movie. Roy Rogers was my favorite. He was the king of the cowboys. And then the Christmas time of 1948 was coming around, and I got the bright idea to send Roy a letter inviting him to our house for the holidays. I gave the letter to my mom to stamp and mail. I felt sure he'd come because I was such a big fan, and I went to all his movies, and I didn't have any school for about 10 days. Well, time passed and no Roy. Even Christmas Eve, I helped my mom clean the house and set the dinner table, and I put out an additional place setting. She said, "What's that extra plate for?" I said, "It's for Roy Rogers. I invited him." And she said in a low, muffled voice, "Don't count on it." Well, I became very disappointed. But even though he didn't come, Christmas was good. That was the year I got my Red Ryder BB gun, and I still have it. And it was then and there that I made up my mind I was going to continue going to the Fairbanks every weekend. But next year, I'm going to invite Hopalong Cassidy.
Is the Fairbanks Theater still open?
That Hopalong Cassidy impersonator was Francis Reeves, who did a really great job of copying his looks as well as his voice. There are just two finales here. One, and both of them connect Springfield to Christmas like you wouldn't believe. And the first one, see this lady? Florence George. Her maiden name was Catherine Guthrie, and she was born and raised on 125 Ardmore Road in Springfield. She became a very famous singer and dancer in New York City and used the stage name of Florence George. Now, let me ask you, was there ever a more important Christmas song than White Christmas by Bing Crosby? That song for decades outsold every song. Well, Bing Crosby had two brothers that I know of, Bob Crosby, who was a band leader, and his oldest brother was Emmett Crosby, who was his manager. And this gal was his wife. This is Bing Crosby's sister-in-law from Springfield, Ohio. It makes me wonder, did Bing ever come here? And if so, why didn't we know about it? And finally, there was a man in Springfield whose name was John Martin. People called him Johnny Martin. He lived on Home Road, about three houses west of Limestone Street. I served with this man, Johnny Martin, on the parish news board, Catholic Parish News, back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I never knew what he did for a living. And it wasn't until 8 years ago, and this week, December of 2012, I went to his funeral showing at Conroy's. And he has a daughter who I knew fairly well from school, named Anne Frigge. And she told me what his job was. He was the tri-state sales manager for Daisy. That's Daisy as in Daisy Red Ryder BB guns. So here is Johnny Martin from Springfield, Ohio, who was responsible for getting all those Red Ryder BB guns to all us kids back in the 1940s. If I had known that when I served with him on the Parish News, I would have dropped to the ground and kissed his shoes, knowing that. But I think that's just a wonderful tie-in for Springfield with Christmas. Bing Crosby's sister-in-law, the guy that brought all the Red Ryder BB guns to Springfield. Okay, Natalie, what do you got up next? Oh, look at that.
This is where I want to let people, I just have some slides at the end that you had provided.
Yeah.
Of just downtown Springfield.
Okay.
For people to look at and reminisce themselves and maybe ask you some questions if they have any. So you guys can feel free to unmute yourselves if you would like to ask some questions, or you can put anything in the chat if you'd like. But I'm going to go ahead and let the last few slides just run through, and you guys can go ahead. So I say you can also chime in if you know what you're seeing here.
That's the blizzard of 1950.
Natalie, why do we have an X over this last section?
So I think that we have learned what a lot of teachers have learned recently, that when you're on Zoom, other people can accidentally write on the screen and it can't be removed. I've heard some horror stories from classes there. So I apologize for the writing that's on the screen. So it would be someone that has a touch screen that touched it. So, but yeah, it's not so bad as to what things I've heard horror stories on Zoom. So, but we've got some. This one is
the marketplace.
In the marketplace, you can.
Shop, I wonder?
We still have the floor and the Heritage Center is restored.
Yeah, Dick, this is Dick Graber. Yeah, my father used to work down there.
Charles Turner.
Oh.
That's
That's
the
the
arcade.
arcade, I believe. Arcade.
This is a neat one of the arcade. It looks like there was an art show going on down the center there.
Raleigh's music store was in there.
Yeah.
Where the hotel is now.
Mm-hmm.
May I add, there were custom tailors located in that arcade building who would custom make suits for gentlemen. 11 of them.
This was the Sears candy counter, I believe. And then this is one of the, we have a lot of pictures in the Heritage Center's collection of the Historical Society archives of Rotary Club's annual Christmas party.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of their annual parties.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great shot of above the Myers Market building, showing the. Does anyone know when the billboards came down? I don't know how long ago they stopped having them up on top.
I don't know, but my aunt and uncle used to have an apartment in one of those buildings and behind there on West High Street. They had apartments downtown. And when I was young, they had an apartment there.
This is a great downtown shopping picture.
Absolutely.
I think they're having discussions now because that woman in the lower part of the screen was asking some.
Those are my high school graduating classmates.
You recognize anybody in there?
Oh, sure.
What year?
1961. That was part of the back of the yearbook and the advertising section.
Ah, are you in the?
No, I'm not in it, but quite a few of my girlfriends were there.
Springfield High?
Yes.
Uh-huh. But that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have to.
It's a great picture.
Those were the days of the saddle shoes, and we'd wear them with big, thick socks for some reason. Yeah.
So was this one here a toy catalog or just a gift catalog that Wren's put out? I wasn't sure what the interior of this one was.
I'm
Does
not
anybody
sure.
remember them?
I think it was a coloring book.
Might have been a coloring book.
Oh,
Yeah.
coloring book.
Coloring book. That's
Ah,
I don't know for sure.
coloring.
It was a coloring book.
That's what I
Okay.
thought.
and was this down on the Esplanade, the
Yes.
Santa's workshop?
Yes.
This is one of the only pictures that I've seen of that. People, Christina must have had that one. We don't have this one in the archives. I've always looked for one of the Santa's workshop down there. So this is a great picture.
Santa used to have deer.
And this is Santa at Kiwanis party here.
Looks like that guy has a pair of clodhoppers on. Very popular shoe in the late 1940s. They wouldn't allow you to wear them at school because they had almost like tap shoe heel plates on the bottom of them.
Yeah.
This is a great one of High Street.
That was
Okay.
prior to 1949. The streets were two-way then.
Mhm. Very
See?
busy. Oh, and there you are.
Yeah. In my glory about 1974.
So you were with WBLY from when they started
No.
through, or no, through the mid 60s?
I was there from 65 to, 65 to 76. Prior to that, I was on Channel 2 in Dayton on the AM show for a year.
Hey, Dick, I had a question for you. This is Dick
Yeah.
Graber. Do you remember when they were at Spring and High, when they first started up at WBLY, there was a dance party on Saturdays, which they invited high school kids out, and the disc jockey would play rock and roll records for them. And I thought it was you. Did you do that?
No,
Yeah.
it was
Too young.
there was a guy named, the only disc jockey that did high school dances back then. They called him Big Red, and he was hired by the Coca-Cola bottling company. And if you had at your affair Coke products, they provided this disc jockey free. He's the only one that did those in the late 50s and early 60s. I never started doing them till the late 60s. But his name, I don't know what his real name was, but they called him Big Red. And incidentally, when I was talking about Johnny Martin, who had the Red Ryder BB guns, he had red hair. So, little addendum.
Yeah, Dick Graber again there. Dick, Johnny Martin and I ushered at St. Teresa for a few years down there. And we became pretty good friends with that before he passed away. And I got to know him quite well and his family. So I know everything what you're talking about there. It's a really good time, especially with you and Roger Sharp and John McEnany. After I started out there with Smiley. So I just wanted to wish you and Kathy a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, that was a lot of fun, Dick. Look at,
Thank you. We'll do it again
That's it.
sometime.
yeah, well, I said, as if anyone has anything else, I'm glad that we got to do this virtually, and hopefully next year we can all be together in person again.
Oh, that'd be great.
And but this was a fun way to share those memories. So I really appreciate you doing that with us and sharing all those great stories.
Thanks again, Dick. We enjoyed it. Thanks
Thank
everybody for putting that together.
Thank you, buddy.
And we hope you guys all stay safe and healthy and have a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas and a Happy
to
New
you.
Year. And that we all have a wonderful 2021.
Yes.
It is
Thanks,
the
Natalie.
best year ever.
Natalie,
Yeah.
before you sign off, Natalie, before you sign off, I wanted to tell you something about Bob Yance. When I was first married, we were having sort of a rough time. My husband was out of work, and WBLY had just opened their station across from the Regent there, you know, on Limestone. And they hired my husband at that time to try to sell advertising for them. He did not sell a thing. He worked for 2 weeks really hard trying to sell something, but he just didn't have it in him. But anyway, Bob Yance gave him $15 each week for his effort. And that was a big thing at that time because, you know, that $15 was a lot of money for the week's salary in that time. And I always thought a lot highly of Bob Yance for even giving him something for nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really neat of Bob. And Dick didn't mention anything about that office across I think they were on the second floor of one of those buildings on that other side of the Regent Theater block. So.
Now, WBLY?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they were.
BLY initially was in the Columbia building, and then they moved to the Lagonda building after WWSO left.
Okay.
They went up and used that studio. They went from there to 1711 West Main Street.
It's huge, isn't it?
Well, I understood that my husband would go to the second floor of one of those buildings across from the Regent to an office building where Bob Yance.
Oh yeah, he was in that old Guardian Bank building.
Yeah.
For a short while in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, no, this
actually it was in the early 80s.
This has been in the 50s.
Oh, 50s? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember him telling it was across from the Regent Theater.
Yeah, it was. It was above the Baker's cafeteria.
Yes, that's right. You're right. Above Baker's. Yes.
Okay, cute.
Not cute.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
You guys have a great night.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, Dick and Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Lucinda Carter,
Yes.
still on?
What?
Are you still on there, Lucinda?
I am.
Well, I'm gonna stick my face in here, my bald head. My dad was the assistant principal under your dad. My dad was J.B. Wright.
I say hi to her.
You remember J.B. Wright?
Absolutely. That was
We
your
lived on-
dad.
We lived on Snow Hill Boulevard.
There.
I was your paper boy.
Yes.
And Dad even had you babysit us when I was a youngster. We lived on Snow Hill Boulevard, and my dad was your dad's assistant principal for a while.
Yes, I remember him very well. He was a large man with dark hair and
Yes, he was.
very,
We lived on a corner of, I think, Tanglewood and I forget. But anyhow, Merry Christmas to you.
thank you. You know, I remember Dad used to talk about that 1950s basketball team. He
Yes.
loved those boys.
Yes.
And he just talked and talked about the crowd downtown. And they had the big parade,
Yep.
and how that was one of the highlights of his life as being principal, to have that experience.
Your father was well remembered by everybody in Springfield.
Lucinda,
Yeah.
do you know what years remember what years he was there as principal?
Well,
I know it was a long time.
he retired in the mid 60s, and he was there first as a chemistry teacher and then principal, and he was principal for over 25 years and then chemistry teacher for probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 more. So he started at Springfield High School in the 30s. So he was there a long time.
Wow.
Hi. I want to say hi to Lucinda Fox.
Okay, I am Lucinda Fox.
I know. Hi, Lucinda. Bonnie Swope Fogarty. We worked together at Springfield Federal
Let's see.
in 1960.
I'm trying to see you on the screen.
Oh, well, I don't do anything like that. Hi, Lucinda.
Hi.
We worked for Pinch Butt Fred. We worked for Pinch Butt Frank Mills during 60s to 73. Does that bring back memories now?
Oh, yes, yes. I remember counting out the money to put in the tiller every day.
It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Springfield's a great town.
It is a great town.
I loved growing up there. It was a
It's a great
wonderful
town. Yeah. Right.
Well, Dick, you brought back so many memories of experiences downtown. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, Dick.
Well, you're
I'll
quite
be around
welcome.
the campus.
We'll need to do more things like this. It's fun to get people to reminisce.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Okay.
and I'm glad you guys can reconnect too. So
Thank you, Dick. It was a great.
Beholden to you.
Thanks, Hort.
thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Hey, can you hear me?
Bill Sports.
Yes.
New
Hey,
York. New York, Bill.
from New York, I want to wish everybody in Springfield a Merry Christmas.
You tell all the rock
Thank
there
you.
we said hello.
Merry Christmas, Bill. It's good to hear from you, Bill.
I enjoyed the program. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Casey.
Hey, it's good to hear your voice.
Well, everybody, this is Dick Graver again. Be careful of that snow out there. I think I told you about it coming in a couple of days
Yeah,
ago.
you warned us. So yeah, I'm glad we didn't get it as bad as some people.
Yeah, like out east in the Appalachians right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come up here with me. We got 15 inches and still coming down.
Oh my goodness. I hope everything's closed there, Bill.
Oh, it's been closed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I hope everybody stays safe and warm and healthy and and has a good night and all of that. So, thank you guys again.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and
Happy
have a great night.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.